In my hands today are letters of support from the gubernatorial candidates for governor. I have Jeff Johnson, Hannah Nicollet, Chris Holbrook, and Chris Wright. They are all showing their willingness to expand the current medical cannabis program to include the provisions that were enacted by a bipartisan majority of the Minnesota Senate. We sent a copy to Governor Dayton because we would love to have his support. And today, the only one missing is from Governor Dayton, whom I voted for. I would like to stress that this is not a partisan issue. We have Democrats, independents, we have Republicans, we have all of the parties represented in not only the group that we have together, but in the state of Minnesota that supports our cause. I do qualify for the medical cannabis program, but unfortunately tens of thousands of people do not. I believe that Governor Dayton chose politics and not medical science to make his decisions on the new medical cannabis program. I believe that Governor Dayton looked to law enforcement and not science when deciding which conditions would be covered by the new program. And because of that, thousands of people will continue to suffer needlessly. I believe Governor Dayton is still looking to law enforcement to create his policies for him. Every law enforcement lobbyist that lobbied against the new program was appointed by Governor Dayton to the task force that oversees the program. I would ask Governor Dayton to become engaged in the process and let medical science and not politics drive his policies and help us fix this mess that he had a large hand in creating. Also absent today is Shelley Olander from Brainerd. Her 6-year-old son, Lincoln, suffers from the same condition that I do, mitochondrial disease. I am covered, but Lincoln is not. Medical science I am covered because medical science shows that cannabis is very effective for treating violent muscle spasms. Lincoln Olander suffers from nausea and vomiting. Cannabis is long known to be a very effective treatment for nausea and vomiting. This spring, Shelley Olander stood outside the governor's mansion, begging Governor Dayton to include her son in the new program. She never received any response from the Dayton administration. It's no surprise that Governor Dayton did not sign the statement of support given the callous and dismissive attitude that he had with the patients in the governor's mansion this spring. Governor Dayton told me that he made it through college smoking marijuana, and I do not understand why Lincoln Olander cannot make it through his day without suffering when medical cannabis could help him significantly. Governor Dayton's attitude is further demonstrated in the documents that were obtained by Cassie Turner.
My name is Cassie Tron, C-A-S-S-I-E-T-R-A-U-N. I've had severe refractory Crohn's disease for 8.5 years, and I've been in remission for 5.5 years with cannabis being my only treatment. Over the past several months, another advocate, Kurt Hanna, and I have been requesting internal documents about the evolution of the medical cannabis bill last session via the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act. After 4.5 months of delays by the Department of Health, I was finally able to view responsive data within the last few weeks. As you can see from this set of documents in my hand, many of the documents provided to us were heavily redacted based on flimsy legal justifications, which we believe are politically motivated. Despite the delays in redactions, the documents have revealed an infuriating callousness in regards to Minnesota's sick and dying citizens on multiple agencies' parts. One such conversation involves discussing precisely who is worthy of cannabis treatment, not based on compassion or science, but on the costs that they would add to the program. Ideas floated around by the Department of Health involved only covering intractable pain and terminally ill patients who are under the age of 18, and which stages of cancer should be excluded. Right here in black and white, human beings with lives and families are being treated like statistics with costs attached, and it's disgusting. Even worse, Governor Dayton had a choice this past session: cover all of these patients and thousands more at little to no cost to taxpayers in Minnesota by signing the Senate's version of the bill, or sign a shell of a bill which may cover a mere 5,000 patients and will cost Minnesotan taxpayers millions of dollars. He did the latter, making the less compassionate choice. Every candidate except Governor Dayton has said he or she would support expanding the program to match the Senate's version of the bill. Governor Dayton, where is your leadership on this issue? It's time for a change.
Hello, my name is Carrie Olafson, K-A-R-I-O-L-A-V-S-O-N. I'm the mother of a child who could potentially benefit from Minnesota's current medical cannabis law. My son Jacob is almost 4, and he suffers from many seizures daily, along with many, many other issues, and one of them being the reason he's currently inpatient at Children's today. Even though Jake could possibly get some relief from this law, and that's a big if, the way this law is written, I'm not happy with the way this issue is being dealt with. We spent all last spring in and out of hearings and lobbying around the Capitol, and I watched this law get chewed up and manipulated, along with many people who are emotionally and physically invested in it. People who suffer from illnesses that made it difficult for them to even be there to fight. I don't understand why politicians and law enforcement should be able to make decisions about anyone's health or medical treatment, especially those who need medical marijuana. Many of them have debilitating, complex medical illnesses. Your age, race, social status should not matter. Anyone and everyone deserves the best possible treatment if they are suffering. I have now watched many people close to me suffer. Some of them are covered under the law, and for them, thankfully, legal access to medical cannabis is on the way. Others, for no other reason than politics, were left out, and they must continue to suffer or choose to break the law. These people are of all ages. The people behind what happened with this law want you to believe that they have compassion for all people, especially children. But then why are children like Lincoln Olander, who's 6, and Parker Keynes, who's almost 3, not included? Lincoln has mitochondrial disease and suffers pain and severe nausea daily, along with many, many other hurdles. They have come to a point in his treatment that he needs to use 2 opioids every day to get relief. Why does he have to suffer and not have access, and my son Jacob can have it? Parker does not yet have a diagnosis, and he struggles with movement disorders and eating to the point that he needs to use a feeding tube, but he also can't have it. Do these boys need to have seizures on top of all their other burdens to deserve relief? I love my son more than anything, but he is not better than anyone else. His age should not matter in determining if he deserves access or not. Many of my adult friends also suffer, and they know better. They know that medical marijuana could bring relief, and they deserve it. But this law does not allow them to legally have it. Why should Jake get relief and anyone else shouldn't? How does anyone just pick and choose who deserves to feel better and have a quality to their life and who doesn't? Every suffering patient who could find relief in this amazing, natural, versatile medicine deserves access. This law needs to change, and we need to bring people into office who can and will make that happen. Thank you. Give it back to Patrick.
And we are open for any questions that anybody may have.
Are there any plans to lobby the legislature next year to try to expand this law even before it has taken effect?
Absolutely. We will all be back next session to lobby to make sure that this law becomes a workable medical cannabis program.
And to that point, are you working with members of the Senate right now, knowing that the House is up for election?
Does anyone else want to talk about it?
In other words, are there any legislators or any senators who are willing to sign on?
I'm certain that there are, both bodies, most likely, but we're waiting right now to see what happens in November before we make any decisions.
You mentioned some of the exceptions to the law, the holds, conditions that are covered and conditions that aren't. Are there any that you can point to that seem especially arbitrary or egregious to you besides the children? You mentioned stages of cancer and things like that. Are there any you can hold up as an example?
Nausea and vomiting is a great example.
Pain.
Intractable pain is a great example. PTSD is an excellent example. There was a presentation to the task force by the University of Minnesota researchers about pain and how cannabis can help alleviate pain and how much better it was in comparison to opioid painkillers. It was a very good presentation. The University of Minnesota has been researching this for a long time.
How angry and disappointed are you that he wouldn't sign this? I'm sure you didn't expect him to, but.
I think it just goes to, oh, sorry, my name's Jessica Hauser, Jessica Hauser. I think it just reinforces the lack of engagement we saw with Governor Dayton the entire legislative session. So no, we're not surprised. We're disappointed that he still continues to show a real lack of compassion or engagement on this issue.
How did it get decided what got in and what got out? Like, I mean, you're mentioning the intracted pain. I've never heard of that. And PTSD, what I have.
I can't.
I'm like, I've handed it over to Cassie. She has all the documents that
There's
show.
probably a good track.
Like, who decided what got in and what got out?
It was essentially a discussion between law enforcement, the Department of Health, and the House.
And nobody had to explain, okay, who votes for leaving in pain, who votes for leaving out pain? I mean,
Right.
no idea.
No.
Well, no, that didn't happen.
But,
That was through those
but
dialogues.
what would the reason be for leaving the things out?
Costs. The House bill is tied. Each patient will cost the state of Minnesota a certain amount of money. And so the Senate version didn't do that. It would have been paid for via fees, et cetera. So every patient that they add to the House versions of the bill, which was what was passed, is going to add a cost. That's what the discussion was about.
So it had nothing to do with the validity of a particular illness or how many
Absolutely not.
infected?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's very arbitrary.
So you're asking for a second look at this before it even takes effect. Are you also asking then to revisit how it can be implemented, smoking instead of just vaping or whatever the terms are?
Yes.
So what specifically would you like?
We'd love to see the Senate version of the bill, for starters. 55 dispensaries, smoking, all of, PTSD,
Vaporizing the plant.
Yep, vaporizing the plant.
Vaporizing the plant, not necessarily.
Just a correction, the Senate bill did actually penalize smoking. And we are fine with that. I am Heather Ozzie, Director of Minnesotans for Compassionate Care, AZCI. Sorry about that.
Patrick, you said that you voted for Dayton in 2010. Could the rest of you tell us who you voted for in 2010?
Yeah.
I voted for Governor Dayton. In 2009, I began advocating because of what happened to my daughter, and I believe that cannabis did help her in the last 90 days of her life, 89 days, helped her continue to live. And Governor Pawlenty at that time vetoed the bill. And I ignorantly thought that it was because he was a Republican and wanted to run for president, that he would do that to so many hurt people. I believed that Governor Dayton, whom my family has always loved and respected, would be a far more compassionate person. And therefore, last session, I erroneously believed that he would be with the people. And I was wrong. And I have been a Democrat, and my first election I ever voted in was in 1972. This will be the first election that I will not vote for a Democrat for governor. I'm not sure who I'm going to vote for, but I know for a fact that because of Governor Dayton and the meeting in his office, I will not vote for him. What he did was horrible to us. Thank you.
I believe that the main reason that we are in the position that we are today is because decisions were made not based upon medical science. They were based upon politics. It was based upon influence of law enforcement to the governor's office, and the governor readily admitted that. Governor Dayton said many times that he will not sign any bill that law enforcement does not support. And I don't think anyone up here today can understand how law enforcement can have anything to do with a medical bill. Law enforcement is not qualified to make medical decisions for us. We need science to make those decisions, and we need the Department of Health to be with us, which now I believe they are.
And while you advocate for changes in the law, are you also keeping track of the system that they're trying to implement right now? And what do you see when you look around? How do you think the system is going to work as currently constructed?
As Patrick mentioned, I think the Department of Health has been very open and forthcoming about the work that they're doing. And I've been very grateful to them for accepting comments, allowing folks to weigh in on their draft rules, provide a perspective. I think that they are taking this very seriously and doing the best that they can with the law that's available right now. But we know that they could do better if they had a better bill.
Have you told them, Jessica, then, that you are hoping to try to move this forward in 2015?
I don't think that's any secret that I want this to continue to expand, to include other patients, to include diagnoses that merit this based on medical science.
Heather or someone, could you just kind of explain what you're attempting to do here today? Because nothing has really changed since we knew who the candidates for governor were. Their positions were clear then, you know, they're clear now. What are you trying to do here 5 days out?
We were optimistic that Governor Dayton would sign the statement of support, quite honestly. You know, maybe we should be faulted for that, but we hope that he would take a look at this after everything that's happened. Some of our patient advocates have died since this law was enacted, and we were optimistic. You know, we're really very disappointed that he did not sign it, and that he appears not willing to work with us again next session.
When did you ask him to sign it?
Monday, I believe he received
This week?
in person. Yes. And we have heard no response at all from his administration.
So it wasn't a no, it was just no response at all?
No response. Every other candidate responded immediately.
Hasn't he actually left the door slightly open though? He said that he wants to see how the law is implemented, and then he can talk about expanding.
I don't know. I haven't heard a very positive statement from the administration about expansion to date. So I'm really not, at this point, I'm really not optimistic that he's going to be open to that. The health department is required to consider the addition of intractable pain about a year and a half from now. That's far too long. It's far too long. This program is going to get up and running next summer, and it should have some medication available for a limited number of patients. There's no reason for us to delay this more.
We need to remove the politics out of the decision-making within this program. This program needs to be looked at and,
Thank you.
I believe we need to remove the politics from this whole discussion. We need to let the Department of Health and Science be the one helping drive policy. It makes no sense to anyone here how the kind of influence that happened when this law was created, it may continue to happen. And it will continue to happen unless Governor Dayton can make a statement saying that he will support a workable medical cannabis law. We really hope he did. I thought he would. I did think that he would sign this, and I thought today we would be announcing that we are going to be expanding the program, that everyone is on board. And I do not understand why Governor Dayton will not support us. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.